What is up, family? It is officially 2024. That's absolutely crazy to say, but that means that the Casually Ambitious Performance Club is almost here. What the heck is this club you speak of? You may be asking yourself. That's a great question. This is a coaching program for high-performing individuals. Whether you're a former athlete, weekend warrior, or just want to do some hard shit, this program may be for you. It's a hybrid training style with a high volume of running and a lot of lifting. It comes with half, full, and ultra marathon plans, a full strength training program to complement the runs, diet and nutrition programming for every single meal, and mindset modules to help get your mind right to be the best version of you across the board. This is perfect for somebody looking to PR their next marathon, run 100 miles, or maybe just become an all-around beast of an athlete. The program officially launches January 29, but you can sign up for the email updates and more info at the link in my Instagram bio or in the show notes. I will see you there. Welcome visionaries, dreamers, and trailblazers to the Casually Ambitious podcast. I'm your host, Chase Price, and I am thrilled to embark on this journey with you. Here, we dive deep into the realms of wellness, entrepreneurship, and mindset. Let's build a life we love while loving the life we live. The adventure to a more mindful, purposeful, and casually ambitious life starts now. Because I'm having conversations, otherwise I really wouldn't be having.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So it gives me a great excuse to say, hey, Phil, we haven't really got together yet, but I want to have a conversation with you.
Facts.
Let's record it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Facts.
And that's kind of where the podcast idea came from, was like, I would just outreach to people that I thought were interesting.
Yeah.
And then we actually would record it, and I'm like, maybe I'll use it for content, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, well, we're already doing this whole thing. Why not just do a podcast out of it? So
that's it.
So what is your podcast called?
Who cares what they think?
Who cares what they think?
Yeah.
And what do you guys talk about on there?
So just like, I feel like as of recently, it's been like whatever one of us is going through, and we kind of like talk it through. And then he's 6'8", I'm 6'10", so we have like a segment called the Tall Guy Problems. And I feel like that's been like catching on. So like, example, it's so hard to be tall and run on the sidewalk because like you're always like dodging branches and like just like small things like you wouldn't really think about as being a tall guy. So.
Yeah, true. Well, Phil, welcome to the pod.
Yeah,
Stoked to have you, brother. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while. I feel like you kind of came on the map in Charlotte, at least for me, like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you were not a part of the scene, in the running scene, and then you were like in such a big way.
Yeah.
And I love that you came into the scene just with authority. So how long have you been in Charlotte for?
Yeah. So I've been in Charlotte for like almost 3 years in May.
Really?
But I went to high school out here. So I'm kind of from here. But I left for college and I went to LA and I was there for quite some time.
Okay. And what's the story behind the move to LA?
Yeah. Story behind LA was like just crazy girl drama. We'll leave it at that. And then went to LA, and then I got signed to a modeling agency, and it's kind of found like, wow, like I played college basketball and I realized I can make a good amount of money just pretending to play basketball. And so I decided that modeling was the space I wanted to stay in. And I built a following from that, and just like bodybuilding, MMA. And I just kept going with it. So
you would basically be a professional basketball player in these ads, and that's how you were making a living.
Yeah.
What kind of ads were these?
So like my first commercial I did was Nike. I've done ESPN, I've done Gatorade, I've done Apple. So like some decent brands. It was a blast. Like it was never something that I like wanted to do or like dreamed of, but like the door opened and I booked my first commercial was Nike, and I was like, wow, like
no way,
this is sick. Like I really appreciate the industry. And it was a great time, and it paid my bills for a hot minute. So
the first one was Nike.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Did you have any experience modeling before that?
Not really. No. Like I did like a random shoot, like a friend asked me to do, I guess like circling, like my roommate, he wanted to become a photographer and editor. And so we bought a camera off of OfferUp. And so like after practice, we just like practice, like we'd go and do shoots and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so I went to the LA Fitness Expo, and my agency that I got signed with was there. And I just happened to have like some quality photos, and it was just like right time, with the right amount of, I guess, perfect time, right time, right place, right time. And so, the door opened and I busted it open and kind of ran with it.
I love that, man. Yeah. That's awesome. So Had you ever been to LA before you moved out there?
Yeah, so I'm from Southern California originally. So,
what part?
I'm from Oxnard, which is like an hour and a half north of LA, and then my dad lives in Compton. So like, my parents were never together. So like, I was always like every other weekend I'd be down in LA with my dad, and then other half I'd be back in like Oxnard.
Cool. And so, what brought you to Charlotte then?
Yeah, combination of things. COVID hit 2020. My agent was like, just leave, like everything's virtual now. And so I moved to Denver, Colorado with an ex. And then we were there from like September 2020. And then my little brother passed away February or Valentine's Day of 2021. And so like, that was like the first thing. And then her and I, we broke up in like April. And so my mom lives here in Valentine. So I was like, I'm just going to go home and just like be with family and just kind of like process, I guess, the feelings that I was feeling. So that's what brought me back to Charlotte.
So let's go into this bodybuilding thing for a little bit. So were you doing the modeling and the bodybuilding simultaneously, or did one follow the other?
So I would say I got into, I think I modeled first, and then I decided to get into bodybuilding maybe like 3-4 months later on. It was always like an interest of mine. But then I decided to pull the trigger, and like kind of with everything I do, I'm all in. I get super obsessed with it. And then like,
I can tell. I love it.
Yeah. That's all I think
I'm
about.
the same way.
Yeah. And I feel like that's how you get good, bro. And like, yeah. So I just went all in with bodybuilding. I ended up dropping out of school. I was like, I'm going to do bodybuilding, modeling. That's like the path I want to take. And I guess my thought process getting into bodybuilding was my insecurities growing up were, people said I was soft and that was weak. And so in my head, I was like, dude, if I can complete a bodybuilding competition, I'm not weak, because like the amount of weightlifting, I went from like 225 to 275, and just like, you're putting a lot of work into getting there. So I think it just helped with my confidence, honestly. And it was an amazing sport for the time that I did it.
It's a very mentally demanding and challenging sport.
Dude, mentally, and the amount of discipline. But I think that's one thing that I appreciate about having coaches, is they give you that third person look. And so like, there's times where like, man, like I look terrible. I feel terrible. And they're like, no, feel like you're fine. This is how you're supposed to feel. So like, I've always been a big advocate on having a coach in like whatever endeavor I'm doing.
Yeah. Is there with bodybuilding, like weight classes, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I competed in classic physique. So think, like, Arnold, right? So like, think of like that aesthetic. So like the golden era is what they called that. And I competed, I think I was like the 6'5" and over. I'm 6'10", and then like my max weight was 275, but the most I ever weighed on stage was like 250. So like, I mean, I'm sure if I would have continued to bodybuild, I would have like eventually like filled out into my frame. But I don't know. When I moved here, I just kind of couldn't find a good bodybuilding community, and so I just kind of like didn't care for it anymore.
I don't know one person who does it here.
No, it's not that. It's a huge running community, and I think it's kind of partially how I got into running.
Yeah. How did you end up placing in the bodybuilding thing?
Back to the pod in just a second, but hey, you've been putting it off too long. It's 2024 and time to get your nutrition dialed in. If you don't know where to start, I'll help you out. Flex Pro meals. I've been using Flex Pro for the past 4 or 5 months and honestly have been blown away. Check this out. Very important tip. When you order, choose the by the pound option. That's what I use. That way I can just handpick my protein, veggie, and carb just the way I want it. They have next day delivery options. Who does that? And a ton of options to get your diet cleaned up for the new year. For a limited time, you can use code CPRICE for 40% off your first order. Now, back to the pod.
Yeah, so I did 2 competitions. My first one I placed second, and my second one I placed third. So
nice.
I did relatively well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if I would have continued, I could have gone pro. But again, I kind of lost that fizzle.
In the process, if somebody does want to go pro, what does that look like in bodybuilding?
Yeah, so you have to place top 3 in like your local show, and then once you do that, you'd have to go to a national competition, and then you have to place top 3 in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I never did a national show. I only did like local. I did one in California, and then I did one in Dallas, Texas.
I assume it's one of those things that you kind of do. Yeah, you can be a professional in it, but it's probably very difficult to make a living doing that, because you're probably doing brand deals and other things to support that. Is that true?
Yeah, no, for sure. Unless like you're the top bodybuilder is you're relying on brand deals and partnerships and coaching and
which is much like running.
Yeah, 100%.
Kind of. So you moved to Charlotte. You didn't immediately get into running, did you? Mm-mm. So what were you kind of doing during that period before you got real heavy into running? And I know you're a trainer too. Yeah. So what were you doing those first couple of years when you did move to Charlotte?
Yeah. So when I first moved here, I think I was still kind of into bodybuilding. I was just trying to find the community and trying to figure out like what that looks like. I've always been into content, but like one of my good friends in Denver, we both kind of went through a breakup at the same time. And so we're like, bro, like we're going to go hard in content. So we live in Denver. So like I would fly him out here and I'd go to Denver and we just quality content. Mm-hmm. That was like all I did like the first year of being here. And then, and then I eventually realized that, I wanted to do Around the Crown. I thought it was a cool race. I did it. It was one of the most humbling things I've ever done.
Is that your first race?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Around the Crown's a 10K. Around 277, which circles Charlotte, but it's an awesome race because they like shut the highway down for a day.
Yeah, I would say it's like a Charlotte staple race. It was an amazing experience. I had a goal of finishing under an hour, and I did. And then I was like, oh, like maybe I could do a half marathon, and then it just kind of like built from there.
Mm-hmm. Got the bug.
Yeah, big time.
My wife's maybe not her first race, but she ran Around the Crown this past year. And then she ran her first half this year. But it's so funny when somebody catches the bug, man, because like I'm obviously in the scene and I fucking love it. I egg it on. But like you can see somebody start just slowly be like, I think I'm capable of this. I think I'm capable of this. And you see them literally learn a different version of themselves that they didn't know existed. And that's one of the beautiful things about running too.
How long have you been running?
Hard, like intensely trying to compete for about a year. Overall, probably 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Relatively new.
Yeah. What got you into running?
Same story as everybody, bro. Like COVID. Yeah. Like COVID. I would run prior to COVID and during COVID, the beginning of COVID, I would run, 2-3 miles like everybody. Like take a day off from the gym. Be like, I got to switch it up. I got to go do some cardio. You'd go out, you'd run as hard as you can for 2 miles. And you'd be like, that was awful.
Right.
I hate running.
For sure.
And this is the same story for everybody because nobody knows how to do it, how to progress. Right. So you go out there, you hate it, you're red faced, you come back, you're like, yep, that sucked. Check the box, but you got your run in. So I did that over and over and over again for like a year or two. The farthest I would go is like 3 or 4 miles. Okay. And then COVID happened and things closed down, and then we had to find alternative methods to work out. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll start pushing my mileage up a little bit. And immediately after I broke that barrier of like 2 to 3 miles, started to go further, is when I got the bug, because then I started realizing like, oh, I'm getting faster.
Right.
These miles are getting easier. I'm not hating my life quite as much at the end of these.
For sure.
It took me a while to get to the point where I was like, okay, I want to run a race and all that. But the same thing happened to me is like, I signed up for a 10K and then I signed up for a half. Yeah. And then my crazy ass, like you, is I get obsessed with something, I go all in on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck a marathon. I'm doing 100. Okay, so I signed up for 100 before I signed up for a marathon. I ended up running a marathon prior as like training runs for the 100. Okay. But I'm like literally 0 to 100 real quick. So that's kind of how I got into it.
No, it's really sick. So like, do you like, what's the end goal? Is there an end goal for you, or is it just like, just enjoy the journey as you're in it?
I would love to probably, I do want to try and go pro in ultra running. Okay. I think there's a possibility there. I want to run some of the Super Bowls of the ultra circuit. Sure. I want to run Leadville. I want to run Badwater's my dream race. So I'm currently trying to get the pre-qualifiers in order to qualify for Badwater and some of these other races, because the last 2 races I went out, I got second in my first one and I won my second one, but these are, podunk local races. So I want to go up and compete against the best in the world and see if I can hold my own with them.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I just want to prove to myself that I can hang with, some of these bad motherfuckers out there.
For sure.
Because ultra running, I mean, just running in general, marathon running, you know how mental it is.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so I'm certainly not the most athletic person or the most naturally gifted person, but I think mental toughness wise, I feel like I can hang with some of the big dogs. So that's what I want to experience for myself.
Yeah, that's sick. That's really cool.
And as you know, it's like really cool to just document the process.
Dude,
and people just kind of join the journey along the way.
For sure.
And you can go back a year ago and see your long runs on Saturdays, and then a year later see your long runs and be like, damn, I've come a long way.
Dude, no, seriously. And kind of what you were saying, like documenting the progress, our journey is, in my opinion, that's one of my favorite parts of just any sport. And that's kind of how I started a run club last January. But I did, David Goggins, obviously, but I did the 4x4 48 challenge. And like I was posting about it, and like I remember I did a run it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was dreadful. And I was like, hey, does anybody want to run at noon? And I think like 7 people showed up, and like the run was so blissful and amazing. And then my run at 4 o'clock, again, I was by myself and it was absolutely miserable. And so then that's when I started realizing like there's power in doing hard things together. And that's kind of like what sparked. I was like, oh man, like maybe if I started a run club, like I am bought into running for however long I'm in the sport, but it could be really cool to provide a space for other people to join in. And I just like I ran 2 weeks ago when it was raining outside. I did 13 miles and there was 3 of us, and it was like, you get close doing hard shit together and like in like not necessarily ideal conditions. And it's a blast. That's what I really appreciate about documenting the journey.
Yeah. I was just telling you, I just did so today's Friday. I just did my long run today instead of tomorrow because time wise, I couldn't fit it in or whatever. It is so windy outside. Yeah. And I was like fighting these winds and it sucked, man.
Yeah.
And obviously I was by myself, but if I ran that same run with a crew, I probably would have had so much fun because the wind's blowing you guys over and you're like, this fucking sucks, but you're together. And there's just some beauty in the process of doing it together. So there's certainly some things to learn solo. And I've done probably, 95 to 98% of my miles solo.
Right. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I want to get better at is outreaching more and just running more with people.
For sure.
I do like my solo time, and it's a time for me to think and just process life because shit just hits the fan. It's busy.
Bro.
So it's kind of personal time for me, but there's certainly magic in that community as well.
100%. I think too, finding that balance of like community and alone time. Cause I try to run like at least twice a week where I'm just, again, like you said, it's meditative. It allows me to process life and just like figure out the demons that are going on between my ears and just lets me like face them. And I think that's one of the cool things about running is it's such a meditative sport. And like, there's nothing wrong with listening to music or listening to podcasts during runs, but there's something magical about just like going out there. Just all you hear is your breath, your footsteps, and all you have is your thoughts. Like it's amazing.
I did that today. I left the headphones at home and I was just being present, man.
Yeah.
And, it was nice. It's not, again, like the winds were gusting and it was tough, but in those moments, there's moments of bliss in there for sure.
Yeah.
For you, what was the catalyst to start? Was it COVID as well, or was it something else that kind of got you into
running?
Yes.
No, it wasn't COVID because during COVID, I moved to Denver because the gyms are open. And so I was bodybuilding still then. So what got me into running was I was at Barry's, and have you met James Gully?
No.
He was a trainer at Barry's, and he was talking about doing the Around the Crown. I was like, oh, like, what is it? And I noticed like a lot of people were like signing up for it. So I signed up for it in, I think, June, and the race is like early September. So I trained for it for like.
And this is last year, 2022.
Yeah. So I've been running for like a year and a half. So 2022. Yeah, that's correct. So I started running July 2022, and then like probably the furthest I ran mileage wise was like 8 miles for a long run. And then, I did Around the Crown. And again, I just got so humbled. And I think that's something that I really enjoy doing. Like I like sucking at something and then like, what can I do to get better? And so then I signed up for the Charlotte Half Marathon. And so I just kind of like stacked the block of the 10K to the half marathon training. My goal is to run under 2 hours. I did like 157, and then I think my next race was a 5K. And then like my goal was to do under 21 minutes. I finished in 20 minutes, 12 seconds.
Nice.
And then just kept like building and growing. I've ran like 2 halves since then. And then, yeah, the goal's been to get better. One day my goal is to qualify for Boston. So I'm running my first 2 marathons this upcoming year. It'll be a blast. You worked with Casey. I'm working with Casey now. So it's been nice to have someone. Dude, she's sick. It's been nice to have that guidance. Again, like I said, I enjoy having a coach it takes a sense of like, I don't have to think about it. I just could go do. And like me as an athlete, you're probably going to have to tell me to just bring it, like reel it in. Like you're doing too much or don't go. Like she texted me, it was like raining really bad on a Tuesday. She's like, Phil, like just change it to Wednesday. You're fine. And so like, that's me as an athlete. I'm going to go and do what I'm told. I'm going to follow the plan to a T. And yeah, I've just been enjoying working with a coach and just like I said, the goal is to qualify for Boston this year.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I'm running Boston in April.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. But the journey to qualify is a beautiful journey, man.
Surely.
It's like you got to scout out the perfect race. Hopefully it's nice and flat. Maybe even mine was downhill.
You did
net downhill, Jack and Jill, which I did with Casey, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Working with Casey is phenomenal, man. Cause I'm the same way. It's like, I just don't want to think about it. I just want to go out and do it. Like there's days, I don't know if you're structured the same way, but my speed days are Wednesday. And then there's typically paces built into my long runs on Saturdays. So I know I sometimes dread Wednesdays cause I'm like, yeah, it's going to suck.
Right.
But there is so much reward once you finish that workout. But there's times when I don't get out until I get to the track and then I look at the workout. I'm like, all right, game on.
Yeah.
Let's go. Cause I know it's coming. But it's so nice to just not have to program stuff yourself. And the other thing with a coach, man, as you know, the learning curve that it takes off, it's literally years,
yes,
you know?
sure.
I mean, just being able to ask a quick question about like, how did you think about fueling for this? Or I'm having this problem. How should I reframe this or think through this? And Casey probably cut, man, like 3 or 4 years off my learning curve. And now I'm coaching people, but it's all based off of what I've read and all the stuff I've consumed in the last 2 years, which has been as much as I possibly can on running. Like
for sure,
I've turned into a total running nerd.
Yeah.
But it's also through working with people like Casey because she's just so freaking knowledgeable. I mean, she's run 20 marathons, you know?
And I think one thing I appreciate about Casey is like, not only is she knowledgeable, but she also walks the walk.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like my respect for her is like 10 times, just not a number, but like so much more just because like, not only does she know what she's talking about, but she could also go out and do it. And I've always found that like, I enjoy being around coaches who like, they are better than me, like both mentally or knowledge wise, and as well as like physical ability wise. Mm-hmm. So it's been like cool to pick her brain and learn. And
that's a great point. I like that too. And that's how I try to do the same exact thing now that I'm getting into the game of like, I want people to like, one, just respect me and look up to me as a coach because I'm doing the same thing.
Right.
You know, I'm aspiring for the same thing. I'm out here working. And also I think important thing for me is like, I also want to have a coach too, because I want to constantly strive to get better. And for me, I don't want to stay stagnant while I'm trying to make others better. I want to do the same thing that they're trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Do you do any coaching?
Yeah, so I do online coaching.
Okay.
The majority of my clients are like weight loss, weight gain. I feel like that kind of happened with bodybuilding. I've been like asked about like run coaching. I'll do like basics, but I'm not a run coach by any means, but I enjoy doing like weight loss, muscle building. That's been like my bread and butter for the last like 5-6 years.
Okay. And you also are a trainer at Barry's, right?
Yeah.
I went to my first Barry's class like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, solid.
Loved it, bro.
Yeah. Your wife's been showing up quite a bit recently.
She has. She's got the bug for Barry's too. She got me in there. She was like, "You're gonna love it because it's running based.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can get on the tread. Some people do double floor. I was like, can you do double tread?
You can do double tread. Yeah. Like this year, I guess last year I did a lot of double treading, especially during the winter. But like now, I think one of the reasons our run club kind of grew as quickly as it did is like we show up, rain, shine, the temperature doesn't matter. So I've been running a lot outdoors just because I have to show up. But I do love a good double tread at Barry's. Do you know the guy? His name is Carson Truesdell.
Yes, he's a very fast runner in Charlotte, isn't he?
Very fast, bro.
I don't know him personally, but I've heard of it.
So he comes to Barry sometimes, and like, you know, they'll call like 5, 6, 7. He's always 2 numbers above what they call out.
About the highest one?
Yes. And so like whenever he's in class, like my runs automatically get harder. And my goal is just to make him walk at least once. And I've yet to be successful, but dude.
He's a beast.
Beast, bro.
Yeah.
Beast.
He's like typically in competition to win the local races.
Yeah.
Everyone
and like,
that he's
I followed he did CIM this past year, and I followed him on Strava, and he was doing like 100-mile weeks. I think he finished in like 2:20 or something.
2:20,
bro.
beast.
Insane. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
There's levels.
I want to run CIM one day for sure. It seems like a really fun course.
Yeah.
What are you eyeing for your 2 marathons this year?
Yeah. So I'm doing Grandma's in June, which is a fast race. They call it like the CIM of the Midwest.
Okay. Where is it?
Duluth, Minnesota.
Duluth,
Yeah,
Minnesota.
middle of nowhere, dude. Yeah, middle of nowhere. So there's like 5 of us from Run Club who are doing that.
Nice.
And then I'm doing Chicago in October. I got into the lottery. And so that'll be a blast. Casey's running it.
Nice.
There's this girl named Pauline and Jordan who are also running, and all of them are really, really fast. So
Yeah.
it'll be cool to have a group to train with who are also shooting for like close to that 3 hour, sub 3 hour mark.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. Chicago's going to be insane.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like God forbid I don't get hurt this year, but I think I could pull off a BQ there. I just think like the energy's electric. I know it's a really fast course, and I think stacking 2 marathon blocks back to back is gonna be really good for me. Dude, I'm in the 40-mile weeks now, so like,
Are you?
I feel legit right now. So it's gonna be a fun journey this year to see where it goes.
Oh yeah, man. It's really cool to get to that next threshold of like, oh, I'm doing 40-mile weeks now.
Yeah.
I'm doing 50-mile weeks now.
Bro.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's sick. I was like, I've been around the 30 for the last year. So, yeah, no, it's just cool to see the progress. And it's honestly really cool to see like August. I got runner's knee in July. And so like when I came back from running, I was running like zone 2 at like a 12-minute pace. And like now it's down to 10 minutes. I'm like, damn, like I just appreciate the process and seeing like the numbers go down, my heart rate stay low. Yeah, it's an obsessive sport. And when I first got into running, I thought it was a very like, just put on some shoes and go out and run. And like there's zone 2 training, there's watches, there's just so much complex stuff into it that I did not realize what I was signing up for. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm signed up for it, I'm in for the long haul.
You are all of us though.
Yeah.
At the beginning, because you're like, all right, I'm going to lace them up again. Like, let me go out there and run my 7-minute miles or 7:30s and just chug as fast as I can. And again, the importance of getting a coach.
Bro, night and freaking day. And it was like cool because like I self-coached myself through my first 2 half marathons. My first one I ran in 1:57. My second one I ran in 1:37.
Nice.
So like,
was that at Kiowa?
No, my second one was at Lake Norman. It was in May.
Okay.
Kiowa, my goal originally was to run sub 90, but then I got runner's knee in July, and then I got it again in October. So like it kind of just threw off everything. I was originally planning on doing the full, and Casey's like, we'll push it back. Like there's no rush in trying to do what you want. Like you'll get there eventually. Let's just focus on staying healthy. And so Kiowa, I did PR by 3 minutes, but I think it was more or less because I'm a smarter runner. Like I'm just understanding what I'm doing. I didn't feel more fit than I was for the race before. So, I relatively negative split it. Like the first race, I went out too fast. I try to stay with a 90-minute pace group. And so just learning about how to race is also just as beneficial as getting fit too.
100%. I avoid like water stations like the plague.
Dude, yeah.
I don't stop at water stations anymore. And that was something I had to learn.
Yeah.
I take 2 handhelds. I have my waistband where I keep one and I carry one and I'll switch them halfway through. But I'm like, if I would not have done that, I wouldn't have got sub 245 because it just, there's so many variables that can mess you up
for sure
at a water station.
100%.
So I've learned that. And that's what I personally, that's just a personal preference. But you can also, there's people that are slow, you get tripped up, you get hurt, like just bad news.
No, for sure. Yeah, I agree. And I think another thing too was like fueling. For my second half, I brought gels or like the gummies. I didn't practice fueling like before the race. And so like I put it in my mouth. I was like, fuck, dude, like my mouth is too dry. Like this fuck. I literally threw the pack of goos or gels on the side, and some kid was like, Mom, why do you do that? And she was like, I don't know, honey. And like this past race, like I practiced my fueling strategy leading up to it, and I actually fueled properly during the race, and like I could tell the difference in like how I felt.
Yeah.
So like I said, there's, as you know, there's so many intricacies to running, from hydration to taking your gels, and to like, it's insane.
I was talking to somebody last week, I think, or recently. Some people put their names on their bibs at like the bigger races. So when they run by, everybody's like, go Phill, go Phill. And or his name was Josh. And he was like, at the beginning, everybody was like, go Josh, go Josh. And then at the end, he hit the wall and he was walking and he like threw up on the side. And one kid was like, Mommy, is Josh okay? I was like, the pros and cons of putting your name on the bib, like it's a bold choice.
Dude,
could go either way.
Dude, that's hilarious. Wow. But did he finish?
Yeah, he finished.
Props to you, Josh. Dude, that's a dog. Yeah, throw up and still go. That's elite.
Yeah, man. Have you ever pulled the trigger, and are you like a thrower upper when you're like struggling like that?
Dude, so I've only thrown up from leg days.
Really?
Yeah, and I've thrown up from like, there's this place in California called the Sand Dunes, and it's just like a big hill with sand, and like you do sprints and like different agility drills, and so I've only thrown up from that and from leg day. So I've yet to throw up from running yet. I got close actually, like maybe like a month ago. It was 800 repeats. I was dying, bro. But like I haven't yet thrown up yet. But I'm not against it. I understand these, but I'll keep going. But it hasn't happened to me yet.
No, me either. I'm not a big puker, but every once in a while. Dude, that must have been a very intense leg day.
Oh, dude, I used to get after it. And I'm a big guy, bro. So like, I'll show you the video afterwards. Like there was some projectile vomiting with my best friend. Like, dude, we used to get after it. One
of my homies who makes content, he's in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I was trying to link with him last weekend when I was there. It didn't happen. But he went viral because he did one of those like mile 1, 9:30, mile 2, in mile like 16. He was like, oh God, it's coming. Yeah. And like projectile vomits, but he caught it on camera. Dude, went viral, got like 3 million. He was like, yeah, bro, that video went nuclear. I'm still getting followers from that one. Dude,
I'm not gonna lie. I make those videos too. Blessing and a curse. During Kiowa, I dropped my phone. I was like, the momentum, it was brutal. But like, again, I got like 1.4 million views from that video. And like.
From Kiowa? Mm-hmm. Which one are you talking about? It was just like a
mile
video.
Yeah, mile video. And like people were commenting like, oh, if you would have, when I made those videos, like you probably would have hit your goal. And like to me, like my goal is not to become a professional runner. Like I'm just enjoying the journey, and like there's always gonna be someone faster than me. I'm never gonna be Kipchoge, and I'm just like B+ runner. That's the grade I give myself. And like I just want to document the journey, and like hopefully it inspires at least one person to go out and come run. Like whether it's with me or you just do your own thing. Like I think again, documenting the journey and showing like the progress, because again, like 5 years ago or 5 years from now, I'm gonna look back and like my mile 1's gonna be like 6:30 versus 7:15. So like I don't know. It's funny how people actually really hate on those videos, but I also see the power of those videos too. It's like, again, it's a blessing and curse. Pick your poison.
100%. I mean, that's anything in the content game. There's going to be people that are like just finding anything to pick you apart about.
Yeah.
And as the creator, like you get thicker skin as it goes. I remember when I first started getting in the game and I would get negative comments. I was like, these people are really coming for me. Yeah. This is awful.
No, for sure.
And every once in a while, one will make me angry, but for the most part, they don't really bother me. Do they bother you?
No, I feel like I've just been in this game for so long that like,
yeah,
I personally think it's hilarious. I'm like,
it is pretty funny.
You took your time to comment that, and like, one, thanks for boosting my algorithm. Two, like, I guarantee, like, there's a guy who commented this week. He was like, you didn't post your finishing time. What are you, an amateur? And I was like, actually, I am. And he was like, nobody likes your facetious comments. You're actually a dick. And I was like, my response was, that's not what your mom said. And then he was like, what was your finishing time? And so I told him, and he was like, my PR is 15 minutes faster than that. I'm more charismatic than you. I'm more better looking than you. I look like, I'm like, dude, like, look, first off, you don't have a profile picture. You posted nothing, and you have like,
if you're so handsome, dude, show yourself.
You can take my role, but I'll for surely give it to you if you're that much better than me. And so like, to me, it's just people in the basement of their mom's house who are just
100%.
just upset with their life and just looking for anything to.
Sad people, man.
Yeah.
Sad people. I want to, okay, actually, before we switch gears, I do want to talk a little bit about the Run Club and what that's turned into. You've created an incredible community,
Yeah, appreciate
which
it.
is awesome. Congrats on that, man.
Thank you.
What's kind of, you just want to continue to build that, obviously. And the other thing I wanted to speak to was like, you know, you're wanting to you're inspiring like thousands of people, man. So keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate
It's
it.
incredible. And if 1 million people are seeing your videos, like imagine the reach that you have for inspiring people. So
Appreciate it.
keep doing that. But with the running community that you're building, like what's kind of the end goal? How did that start? Obviously you were like, you did that Goggins thing. So you're like, okay, there's some magic here. What was the idea? And from the beginning, were you like, all right, crew's going to be a run club, or you were just like, hey homies, let's link up and like do some runs?
Yeah. So I think like the one thing that I struggled with when I first moved to Charlotte is I didn't have a community. And I don't drink. So like it's hard for me to go to a bar and like, I'm not going to make friends that way. And so,
have you ever been a drinker or never?
I never really been a drinker. Like when I turned 21, I went my sophomore year of college, I played in an NCAA tournament. And so like after the NCAA tournament for like about 8 months, big party guy. And then when I got into bodybuilding, that's when I realized like drinking alcohol slows down your protein synthesis by like 75%. It's just not ideal. I'm already 6'10". It's hard for me to put on muscle as it is. So I didn't see the benefits of drinking in terms of like what I wanted to like end goal.
It cannibalizes all your gains.
Dude, it destroys it.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Hampton University. It's like a small Division I in Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. So I realized pretty quickly that drinking wasn't for me. My ex-girlfriend, she started like a pretty big like community here. It's called Charlotte Social Club. And I just like kind of saw what she did and I thought it was really cool. And so doing those hard things with people with the Goggins Challenge kind of like sparked the idea. And then I fully pulled the trigger like last January with the Invigory. And so like in my head, I thought it was really cool to base a club or a group of a community has nothing to do with drinking and more like with recovery and health and fitness. And then we kind of started doing races together. We did a 5K together, and then we did the Lake Norman half, and we did the Kiowa half. And so like what I say makes our run club a little bit different from all the other ones is like we find a race that we want to do together. We train for it together. So we do like track workouts, we do our long runs, we do recovery runs together, and we just get after it, really. And that's kind of the basis of Run Club. This year, it seems like we're doing a lot of races that are not in Charlotte. We're doing like Nashville Half Marathon. We're doing Duluth. We're doing Grandma's Marathon in June.
That's badass. You guys traveled together for them.
And it's like, I grew up being an athlete. So like, to me, these are like my teammates now. And so like, that's what I enjoy doing. That's how I build community. And it's like, we talk a lot of shit, but like, we're very inclusive. Like we don't care if your goal is to just finish a half marathon or if you have a time goal or whatever it looks like. Wherever you are on your journey, we'll meet you there. After like the first 5, we'll start talking shit to you, just like jokingly, but like it's just, I feel like you're not truly friends if you're not doing that. Like it's just, It's like fun banter, and it's just a good group of people to have.
Just to switch gears a little bit. So it seems like you've always been somebody who wasn't afraid to go all in on whatever it was that you were passionate about at that time. You've never been like really tied down, I guess, quote unquote. You've always had careers that you've kind of made for yourself.
For sure.
And I respect the hell out of that.
Appreciate it.
What's been your mindset with that? Like everybody and their mother in society is telling you, hey, go get a job, go do this. But you're like, nah, I think I'm going to figure out my own lane and I'm going to make it work.
I think, well, my mom is an entrepreneur. And so I think growing up around that just kind of gave me the entrepreneurial bug. But I think like I wasn't always so confident in myself. And so I think like the first step for me was getting signed to a modeling agency. And so then I booked a Nike commercial. I was like, damn, like if I could do it once, I could do it twice. And I did it twice. And I did it 3 times. And I was like, okay, like there is something to this. And then I think for me, it was just doing things that were hard, and then I accomplished it. And then it just gives you more confidence. And then you move on to the next thing and something bigger and scarier. And so I think that's kind of where it comes from. I just started doing things that freaked me out or that I was insecure about, and I faced those insecurities, and then I moved on to the next challenge.
It's badass.
Appreciate
Have you ever had like a corporate job or a full-time job like that?
No. Yeah. Like Barry's is the closest thing I've ever had to that. And like, I'm a part-time instructor there. So I've never like Barry's was my first ever job. And like,
No shit.
even in that, dude, it's been like,
No way.
yeah. And like,
That's awesome.
it's just interesting. Like, it's just a different like environment. And like, sometimes I really like it. I love it. But like also being told like, hey, like, we need you to have berries in your bio. I'm like, oh, like, no, like
Right.
I need to like, so like, yeah, berries my first job. I don't hate on it, but I got blessed really early. I was able to start modeling at 20 and I just kind of, the door open, I just ran with it.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool, man. I envy that quite a bit. Do you find you're somebody who, even if as an entrepreneur, it's like you don't necessarily want to just be one thing. You want to have your hand in a lot of different things because that's fit your personality style?
Yeah. Yeah. So like the brand that I originally created was called Jack's Only, and like Jack of all trades, master of none, just because again, bodybuilding, MMA, running now. I appreciate doing so much, but I would say as being a young entrepreneur, sometimes I am envious of people who had a 9-to-5 job from the start, just because like you have a stable income. And I feel like until recently, like I wasn't all that, I was always like just trying to figure out how to make money. And so like that in itself is stressful, but then also it kind of teaches you like, oh, like I've been in a situation before and I know how to make money now. So it only gets easier and you become more confident in it. So I think it is a blessing and curse being an entrepreneur from a young age, but also there's things I'm like, damn, like I do wish I did have like a stable income at the beginning of my life, or my beginning of my 20s really. So
Yeah, but everybody who has a stable income is wishing that they were in your position too.
Yeah, but
because now you've got the reps in and you had the years of experience of like just like, for lack of a better term, just struggling and like figuring out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
And
no, for sure.
and like once you get some traction, you stop playing life on hard mode because you're like, okay, I kind of know how to do this now,
Right.
and I can duplicate it, or I can go out and seek other brand deals or whatever it is that you're able to put together. But like everybody and their mom is sitting in their corporate job, like just envious, you know? So it's always like the outside looking in just seems so much better than it actually is, I guess.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I mean, it is a blessing to do this, but then like, you also have to realize like, oh, if you don't make money this month, it's your fault. Or like something that like this week, for example, like I thought I signed a client and then like next day she talked to her husband and he was like, oh, like, I don't want you to do this. And then like, oh, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And so like being an entrepreneur, you can make $10,000 a week or you can make $0. And like, sometimes I feel like having like, oh, I know I'm gonna make $2,000 every other week. At least you have like some sort of like baseline income. But again, like you said, like it does force you to like figure out how to go make money and forces you to be comfortable with being broke, or it forces you to have to tell your friends now, like, hey, like I can't go out this weekend because like money's tight. And so the grass isn't always greener, I think, as long as you find peace in what you're doing. Because like also like I work way longer. Like I don't work a 9-to-5. Like there is no turning off my brain. Like I'm always working. And so like blessing and curse, I wouldn't want to work a 9-to-5 job. But again, maybe I'm just, the grass isn't green. I need to tell myself that like working a corporate job isn't all lights and glamour. But I see the like pros and cons for both sides, I feel like.
Yeah, but you also have to think about like, and there's so much value in just the freedom, man, to be able to at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. do a podcast or go for a run or do whatever you want to, you know? And that is, for me, one of the most important things in my life. Like that's a core value for me, is freedom.
Okay.
Because if I feel like I'm in a box, I just don't perform well. Like I don't do my best work.
Yeah.
I don't think we as humans were meant to sit, you know, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and do work and then go home. It's like, and I'm the same way as you. I can't shut off, but I want to work when I'm most productive. I'm most productive like first thing in the morning. So in the past, before I was doing the endurance thing, I would wake up. I've always been an early riser, so I'll wake up 4:35. And either right now I'll go straight and train because that's when I'm at my best in the day, and that's when I can get my best workout in. Prior to that, I would just work for like 2-3 hours because you get that like quiet time. For sure. Regardless of what you do, that's my time to just be by myself and be the best version of myself for that time. So, and even after my workout, I still am like, until about 9 or 10 when things get a little bit busy and your phone starts getting hit up a lot more
For sure.
is my most productive time of the day.
Yeah.
And also, you know, after 6 p.m., like some of the best work I've ever done has been done from that like 6 to 9 window as well. So it just depends person to person, but like when inspiration strikes or, you know, you're at your best, it's, for me at least, it's typically not 9 to 5. So I just value that freedom so freaking much, man.
No, that makes sense.
And once you have it, it's hard to ever consider going back to another career or anything where you're not allowed to have that anymore. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. That makes sense. That does make sense. That's a good perspective to have too. I think there, like you said, there is a blessing in freedom because, like, again, you're able to go hit your long runs whenever you need to run, or like you go lift at noon. Like my peak lifting time is noon. And so like, I do recognize if I worked a 9 to 5 job, it's not even an option. So I guess I do see that. I appreciate that perspective that you brought.
Yeah. So what's up with the Chipotle obsession?
Oh, dang, yeah. I love it.
His face lights up.
Dude, Chipotle is so fire. I don't know how. Oh, I think it was Alex Hormozy.
I remember because he made a post or something. He was like, if you guys want to eat well for fairly cheap and like get the most protein in, Chipotle. Easy.
Yeah. And so like I went through a breakup and I was like, dude, like,
he's got a point.
Yeah, I'm not trying to cook. Like I did the whole bodybuilding, like eat 7 meals a day, and I just got really over it. And I was like, in my head, again, he does have a point. I'm like, if I was to make a meal, rice, chicken, steak, a vegetable, and so like $9, you get all of that.
And it's all fresh,
bro.
No freezers,
bro, none. And yeah, it's quality every single time. I went every single day for lunch and dinner in January and February last year. And
every day?
Dude, every day. It got to the point where I got to know like everybody that worked there. I was getting free Chipotle like probably 85% of the time. And then that even made me want to go even more because I'm like, I'm not paying for it. So I'm like, it makes, like, oh, dude, Chipotle.
I thought you were sponsored, honestly.
So they open my DMs every once in a while, but like Chipotle sponsored me, like for real. Like I would love to be sponsored. If I think I would, someone asked me yesterday, he was like, when did you feel like you were successful in being a content creator? My answer was honestly, like, I don't find success in like a metric. It's more of like, I'm proud of myself for consistently posting. That's what I consider success. And like another metric I kind of follow is like saying I'm going to go do a half marathon and completing it. Like that's what I find a success. But I will feel like a successful content creator if Chipotle sponsors me. So just throwing that out there.
You would be very successful in my book as well.
Bro.
I would be jealous.
And you heard me call it. You heard me call it. So we'll go to Chipotle together if I get that sponsorship.
Yeah,
and we'll create some content.
Shit, if it's free, you still got that hookup. Let's go after this.
So the bad thing about Chipotle, high turnover. And so
so your homies are gone, Brian.
I only have 2 homies left. And so like, dude, I went like 3 weeks ago, and I'm not an arrogant guy, but like I could crack some jokes. And so the Chipotle in South Boulevard, it was supposed to be open.
It's right here.
Yeah. I walked in, new lady. She was like, you're lucky we let you in because we're closing in like 5 minutes. And I had it with, do you know who I am? Like, dude,
no,
like,
you didn't.
Oh, I swear to God. And like, I never made that comment before. Like, it wasn't like, I wasn't trying to be arrogant. It was more like jokingly because I knew the person on the cashier.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, he has a point. Like he does come in here every single day. And so, yeah, dude, like that's the one bad thing about the turnover at Chipotle is not, is high.
That's so funny, bro. Is that the one you go to?
Yeah.
Right here? Nice, man. What about Kava or like Yafo?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I like Kava. I feel like I'll eat Kava when I'm sick.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a sick food for you.
That's for me. Yeah. Cause like Chipotle, they have like it's fresh, but like Kava's veggies go hard, bro. And so I get the harissa avocado bowl and like, I just feel healthy afterwards.
I've never like pre-ordered one of their preset things. I just make my own, but I'll look into that one.
Yeah. The harissa avocado is pretty fire.
Nice.
Pretty fire. Yeah.
Nice, bro. I think that's a good place to wrap, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. That was a blast. I enjoyed talking to you. For anybody out there who doesn't follow you or not familiar with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, Phill.Reed. It's Phill with 2 L's, period, REED. I'm on there the most. I have TikTok, your bro Phill, and then this year my goal is to get consistent on YouTube. So
nice.
You'll find me there, Phill Reed, and yeah, I'd love to have you follow me. And Chase, we need to get you out to Run Club one of these days.
I know, bro. It's overdue.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Perfect.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, dog. Appreciate you.
That's the pod.